Today we are looking more at numerical data. So numerical data is information that is collected that has a number value. It is quantitative data. You can take the average of the data and that number would still make sense. So for example, if you have different measurements, we used an example the other day of test scores. We found the average and the median of test scores. Your GPA has number values. The cost of an item has number values. But you don't want to get caught up in the idea that it's a number, because not everything that's represented by a number is quantitative. So things that are not numerical that could confuse you are things like zip codes. Zip codes are numbers, but they don't really have a quantitative meaning. If you can't take the average, if the average wouldn't make sense, then you wouldn't make it quantitative. Zip code, if you take the average of all your zip code numbers, it's not significant. So that's still going to be categorical. Another example would be phone numbers. If you take the average of your phone number, it has no significance. So the average wouldn't make sense. The kind of graphs that we use for numerical data, the first one is the box plot. For the box plot, we are going to use the 5-number summary, which you actually already know how to find. We did this the other day, we just didn't talk about it. So your 5-number summary for the box plot is the minimum value. You know what the minimum value, that is the lowest value. Then we have Q1. That is 25% of the data fall below this point. That is the median of the lower half of your data. The median is your middle score. Q3 is the median of the upper half. And the maximum is the highest value. So if we look at a box plot that is already created for us, I always have these on the end. The minimum is your lowest value. So if I'm looking here, my minimum value is 20. This right here is going to be my Q1. That is the middle of the lower half of my data. So we have the smallest number, the middle of the lowest half, the middle of the highest half, and the highest number. That means we're breaking that down into 25%. I've taken all of my data and I've broken it down into 4 equal pieces. That's why you see this 25% there. This is the median, or the middle of the lower half of the data. This next number on my box plot is going to be the median, or the middle point. That means we have 25% here, 25% there. Half of my data is below this point, and half of my data is above this point. That's the median, that's your middle. When I go in the middle of the upper half, we get our Q3, and then this was our maximum value. So when we go to answer questions about our box plot, about 25% of students scored a blank or less. So we're looking actually at our Q1 value, because 25% of the students are below here. 25% of my students are below my Q1. So if I look at where Q1 happens, that is 30. So about 25% of students scored a 30% or less. our next question, we're still at 25%, so about 25% of the students scored a blank or more. That means that 25% of the students are above this. That's talking about this 25% right here. 25% of the students are above this value, which is going to be the Q3, which is 70. About 75% scored this or less. That means you have 75% of your students below this point. Here's 25, here's 25, here's 25. That's 75% are below this point. So we're talking about the Q3 again. And then our last one, another way to phrase this, about 75% of the students scored this or more. So 75% of your students had this score or something higher. Where right here, 75% of our student body is above that score of 30. So it's another way to reference our Q1 value. All right, so if we go to the next page, we're going to create our box plot. So we just talked about how to read a box plot. Don't forget what your box plots are talking about. They are representing your 5-number summary. This is your lowest value. Again, this is the median of the lower half. Here is our middle. This is the median of the upper half. And this is our highest value. These are the values that we are going to use to create this box plot. If you look at our numbers, we've got our numbers already in chronological order, which is good, so we don't have to reorder anything. We have some values that are really easy to find. So first, we have our lowest score. Our minimum value is 74. We have our highest score of 93. Nice and easy. And then we want to find our median. We're trying to find our middle score. We keep on crossing out until we get to the middle. We see that our middle score is going to be 83. So our min, our max, and our median are relatively easy to find. What we want to do now is find the Q1 and Q3. This is a new calculation for us. So 83 is in the middle. So we're going to look at Q1 as the lower half. We want the median of the lower half of our values. So we cross off the top. And we're left with 2 scores in the middle. We're left with 79 and 80. And remember, if we're looking for the median and we have 2, we take the average of those and we get 79.5. So our Q1 is going to be 79.5. We look at the upper half, cross off 83 and 93, 84, 88. Once again, we're left with 2 scores. So the median of the upper half, we get 86.5. We are going to use this 5-number summary to create our box plot. If we look at our values are ranging from 74 to 93. So I'm going to make mine go from 70 to 100. So we have a distance of 30 there, so I'm going to divide that into 3 equal pieces. 80, 90, halfway 75. And then I keep on breaking it down from there. Again, it kind of helps you evenly distribute everything. All right, so we have that our minimum value is 74. There's our minimum. Our Q1 value we found as 79.5. So I'm going to go halfway between 79 and 80. There's my Q1. My median was 83. Right there. And my Q3, 86.5. My max of 93. So the 3 in the middle, the Q1, the median, and the Q3 create the box. And then we've got our min and our max on the end. So again, this is going to be our minimum value. This is our Q1. This is our median, our Q3, and our maximum value. So if we were to create, let's look at our mean, median, and mode. So we didn't find our average, which is fine. Let's go ahead and review our calculator. So if we go to Stat, Edit, we have our stuff in there from yesterday. Clear that. We hit clear arrow down, 74, enter all of our data points in. Make sure that you don't skip one. Make sure that you don't enter a data point in wrong. Because remember, when you enter things into your calculator, it's doing all of the work for you. So it can only make the calculations based on the numbers that you give it. So remember from yesterday, we hit Stat, arrow over to Calculate. We want the one variable stats. Now I've got to make sure that I change this because we had a frequency table. I don't have a frequency table anymore, so I delete the frequency list, Calculate. Don't forget that that X with the bar above it, that's your mean of 83. If you look down, here's our 5-number summary. Our minimum, our Q1, our median, our Q3, and our max. So your calculator does all of that work for you. So we see that our mean was 83. We already knew that our mode, or our median was 83. And then our mode, our most common number. If we look, 83 is repeated 3 times. That's our most common number of 83. So when our mean, median, and mode are all the same number, we call this a normal distribution. A normal distribution is sometimes called the bell curve. And here's just a little bit of information on that. And again, the key here is that this happens when your mean, median, and mode are all equal. Generally, we have skewed data, and this is not the normal. You're going to learn more about this in pre-calc, I believe, and in stats. And again, this is just saying that the percent of data falls in different areas. You can go ahead and read more about that if you would like. Just know that the normal distribution is when the mean, median, and mode are all the same. All right, and that is it for today.